Hi, I'm Stuart Thompson. I'm editor of Digital TV Europe. I'm here with Nigel Burmeister, who's VP of Product at Limelight Networks. Nigel, we hear a lot about low latency and the importance of that with live streaming gains in popularity. Why is low latency streaming important?
Hey, Stuart. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, latency is a really interesting subject. And what's interesting is there's no real definition when it comes to latency of what classifies as low latency or high latency. Usually in the conversation around OTT, when people are talking about low latency, they usually use it with reference to broadcast delays, so around 6 seconds of latency. And when you talk about standard streaming protocols like HLS and Dash, latencies are around 30 seconds. And so, you get into this the classic illustration that's given is a second screen experience where somebody's watching a sporting event over broadcast versus OTT, and critical points in the match are delayed. Obviously, we want to minimize that. In fact, we've done research, part of our annual survey to consumer behavior, state of online video, where we've seen an increase in demand for lower latency viewing. So we ask a question, would you be more likely to stream a live event if it was not delayed from broadcast? And we've seen that number jump to 64% this year, and big increases in the US and UK, 20% in the US, 30% in the UK, of audiences that really want to see the experience on over the top, match that of broadcast. So that's, one reason that's classically given. But there are use cases and applications where there's a desire to get even lower than that broadcast delay. And we'll probably talk about some of those as we get into the content here.
Great. So obviously something very important to users of streaming services. Now, Limelight's main offering in this area is the real-time streaming solution. Can you tell me a little bit about that? What is it?
Sure. So real-time streaming is it's a live streaming solution, which is based on WebRTC. So that's how we get sub-second global latency. So this is sub-second wherever you are in the globe. And the nice thing about WebRTC is it's also natively supported in all major browsers. So you don't require things like plugins or custom applications. We've taken this technology, integrated it into our CDN. So you get the benefits of a private global network. You get the connectivity, the reach, the reliability, all to enhance the viewing experience. Now, I will just say not everybody needs sub-second latency for their application. And so real-time streaming is just, one part of a continuum of solutions from standard HLS Dash through to tuned HLS Dash through to low latency CMAF. And then, if you really need interactive applications, you get into the real-time streaming type solutions.
Great. So maybe just flesh out, what are the sort of real life applications or use cases where real-time streaming is the best fit?
Right. I'd say probably the defining characteristic is where there's some sort of interactivity required. If there's an interactive component to your application, real-time or near real-time is critical for the user experience. And so when we took this to market, we initially saw a lot of interest in applications like online casinos and sports betting. Obviously, you need to level the playing field. You need to make sure that wagering is equitable. And so real-time ability to place wagers is critical. You see that also in things like live auctions. We've seen with COVID a number of auctions move increasingly online and remote. And so again, it's a fairness aspect, but it also allows remote bidders to bid fairly with live bidders. We've seen things like online video games. Obviously, that's self-explanatory. Any lag between the action and on-screen experience compromises gameplay. And we've seen really creative solutions as well. Things like online shopping with a social interaction dimension. We've seen people doing things like drone racing, controlling submersibles. We've seen unique in-stadium type applications with different camera angles. So the neat thing about this technology is it's really just limited by the content provider's imagination. That's what makes it kind of exciting to be on the forefront of an application like this.
Right. Yeah. As sort of innovation around streaming grows, the range of applications where latency is important is also growing significantly, I can see.
Exactly. Yep.
So there's a lot of work going on, I know, about latency and reducing latency. How does Limelight's solution compare with other low latency solutions, such as low latency CMAF, for example?
Right, right. Yeah, if you take a step backward here, I think the industry de facto standard for some time for low latency has been Adobe's RTMP, and which is in the 2-second latency area. And with Adobe's end of life of Flash Player and all major browsers ending support for it this year, CDN's dropping support for it, a lot of providers and vendors are kind of scrambling for the next solution. And as you know, we've talked about traditional HTTP streaming protocols are up in the 30-second range. You can tune that down by altering segment size to around 6 seconds. There is a new media format, CMAF, which combines HLS- into one optimized format, and that has a low latency option, essentially where the encoder is able to push video chunks to the player as soon as they're available, and that can get you into the 3-second range of latency. The thing about all of those options is they're all based on TCP, and you can actually get even lower latencies by moving to a UDP transport, which is exactly what WebRTC does. So for those applications that need less than 3 seconds or sub-second in this case, we're leveraging WebRTC on a UDP transport to get that really ultra low latency component for real-time or near real-time applications.
Great. Now, you've mentioned WebRTC a few times, and I guess it's best known as a point-to-point for point-to-point streaming applications, and I think video conferencing and so forth. Has this been adjusted or amended in any way to work with the kind of video streaming applications that you're describing?
Yeah, it's a great question, Stuart. WebRTC, was developed by Google, and it found its initial application in kind of video conferencing, Google Hangout type applications. And so there are some things which we've had to do to take that to modify it for the applications which we're helping bring to life. So, one of the design considerations in a video conferencing space, which, is different in our world, is, for instance, scale. In a web conferencing environment, you're not scaling to hundreds of thousands of concurrent connections, which we are. Video quality, picture quality, might be another aspect. When you and I are talking on a video chat, we don't necessarily need high def or 4K, and so we've altered that aspect to be much higher definition. And also ABR, we've added ABR support so that you have a bitrate ladder and you're able to adapt depending on the internet conditions. There are also things we've done which just our regular video CDN customers would expect. So if you're doing a live streaming event, for instance, redundancy is really important. So redundant ingest locations with a failover to backup location. Things like we're able to, as a CDN, optimize our point of presence location on connection to further minimize a round trip delay. So that even further enhances the viewing experience. And then as you're taking events online, security becomes really important. And so there's a range of security options to kind of secure the stream and the content, encryption, things like geo-blocking, access control list, tokenization, so a range of security options. And then also really important is the self-configuration tools that we have available on the CDN, making that available to the solution as well. So things like software development kits, APIs, access through our user interface for our customers to be able to control and manipulate this.
Great. So to sum up, what would you say about how these technologies can, enable streaming to match broadcast and latency, and what can they ultimately achieve?
Yeah, I think, one of the, as I think I kind of mentioned, it's a really exciting technology. I think it's an exciting time in our industry as you see live becoming an increasing component of the kinds of applications which we have, and latency becoming an increasing concern within those live applications. So to have something like real-time streaming which puts a toolkit in the hands of our customers. They're able to provide, these sub-second video delivery services, and the limit becomes their imagination, not the technology, for how they want to engage audiences, how they want to differentiate their services. And it's really unique and fulfilling to be on the providing end of that, helping our customers innovate in those ways.
Great. It's a very exciting time for live streaming.
Right.
Nigel, thanks very much.
I appreciate it, Stuart. Thank you.